Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Peace be with you all. I'm Nihad Awad, the National Executive Director of CAIR, the Council on American Islamic Relations, reporting to you from my home. I'm also joined by Danette from our national office and Edward Mitchell. Danette is a nonprofit and compliance attorney at the national office, and Edward is the newly appointed Deputy Director at the headquarters. So welcome to this show. It's called the Daily Dose COVID-19 Conversations with CAIR. It's a new platform, might be new to you, but obviously CAIR has been online providing information and services to the community for so many years, but also since this pandemic started, CAIR has been sharing with the community useful information about the services that CAIR gives, but also this new platform is new in its style and its importance. And I'd like to tell you what to expect from this show. Continuous information about CAIR services nationwide. So not only we are in business, we are hard at business, continuing to serve the American Muslim community and the general public. But also it is a platform for you to learn hard facts, not fear, in terms of information about COVID-19 and how the American Muslim community is responding nationwide. We will provide you answers and information from the experts, legal experts, healthcare professionals, scientists, religious spiritual counselors, and also psychological counselors. So this is a platform, it's a two-way street between us and you. If you have questions, ask them to us. If you have issues we would like, you would like us to address, we can bring you those platforms, inshallah. And also we can bring experts every day to answer your questions. This is going to be, inshallah, one of the largest platforms for American Muslims provided by CAIR to you. CAIR is on your side. We would like you to be healthy and safe and protected, but also we would like you to be energized, informed, and engaged. And that's why we have this show. It's going to be on daily basis, Monday through Friday, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time for a half hour. So stay tuned. Now, before I leave the platform and the show to our hosts, Danette and Edward, let me just tell you this. I'm giving you this information from my home. I hope all of you are sheltered and safe. The American Muslim community's response is phenomenal to this pandemic crisis. We did not find any contradiction between our faith, which is based on faith and reason. We follow the advice of the experts, and they lead us to make our political, social, and religious opinions. Because the first word that was revealed in the Quran was the word Iqra, the word read. And also we always refer the issue to the experts to help us manage our affairs. So the closing of mosques and the social distancing, these are not new to our community, not new to our faith. But also the American Muslim community is so generous and it's active in so many places, providing help and services to the community, including, you will see in the next days, inshallah, how American Muslim experts, entrepreneurs, and healthcare professionals are excelling in providing services to the community. So like you, I will sit back now and I will hand it over to Sister Danette and Brother Edward. Thank you so much, and pray for us and we'll pray for you. Let's stay engaged. Assalamu alaikum.
Assalamu alaikum, Brother Nihad. Thank you so much for your opening remarks, and assalamu alaikum to everyone watching at home. We begin, of course, in the name of Allah. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Wassalatu wassalam ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa ala alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. First, everyone, let me introduce myself. As Brother Nihad said, I'm Edward Ahmed Mitchell. I'm a civil rights attorney, and I serve as the Deputy Director of CAIR National in Washington, D.C. I just began the position officially on March 1st, so it's been a whirlwind month for me personally and the rest of our staff, and I'm sure for all of you. And I'm so happy to be hosting this show alongside my friend, Danette, who I will let introduce herself.
Hi, assalamu alaikum, everyone. I'm Danette Zagari Mask. I'm a nonprofit attorney at CAIR. I'm so happy to be here tonight. I'm in my house, where hopefully you all are. I know some of our healthcare professionals are out there hard at work on the front line. So we're making dua for you. It's always on our minds. But this is definitely a different kind of setting for me, Edward. What about you?
Yes, to say the least. When I began working at CAIR National on March 1st, I did not expect I would be hosting an online television program from my kitchen while we're suffering through an international pandemic. So, yeah. You plan, and Allah is the best of planners. The nice thing, though, alhamdulillah, is that crisis obviously brings tragedy and difficulty, but there's also opportunity for us to find new ways to connect with each other, new ways to be resilient in the face of tragedy and difficulty. And I hope that through this program, we can collectively do that together, inshallah. As Brother Nihad said, we want to hear from experts, including people like Danette, who's going to be speaking to us tonight, inshallah, our guest speakers, who we'll introduce momentarily. This is an opportunity, I think, for all of us to turn what seems like a horrible experience into something that is ultimately positive, inshallah. That's what I'm trying to do with my family. Alhamdulillah, my son is just a few feet away from me, being unusually quiet. And Danette, I know you've got how many kids at home with you who are being cooperative?
Three. One's at home, so it's very quiet right now.
Yes. Okay. And how's your family doing through all this, Danette? How are you all handling it?
Alhamdulillah, we feel very blessed that we're all healthy right now. Really, our thoughts right now, our du'as are with those, again, on the front lines and those who are really struggling with their health right now. We're going through the struggles that everybody is sort of facing right now. My husband works full time, I work full time. All the kids are now homeschooling. They were all in school before. So it's, we're trying to kind of work around each other and get it all done. But alhamdulillah, again, we're happy for our health, and I'm so happy to be here to be able to serve.
Yes, absolutely. So Danette, shall we maybe dive right into it and start discussing our guests? So for everyone watching, inshallah, we're planning to do this Monday through Friday at 8 o'clock, inshallah. And the idea is that, as Brother Nihad said, we want to first and foremost share information with you, the important information you need to know about how the COVID-19 crisis is impacting our nation, and in particular, the Muslim community. So we just want to first start with sharing factual information about what is happening on the ground. And CAIR is in a unique position to do that because we have so many chapters spread around the country, from California to New York to Washington to Florida, on the ground, working with their communities in the face of this crisis. So first, we want to share information with you, the viewer. Secondly, we want to share positive stories. How is the Muslim community responding to this crisis in a positive way? That could be the doctors who are risking their lives to help people impacted by this illness. It could be the charitable organizations that are donating money and food to those who have lost their jobs, who don't have food from going to school anymore, children, etc. And so we want to share positive stories. What are the good things that are coming out of this crisis? And then, as we all know, even if you are not sick, you might be afraid of getting sick, you might have family who are sick, this is a time for us all to get closer to our Creator, and also to make sure we're taking care of ourselves as we're cooped up at home. So we want to bring on people who are qualified to discuss ways you can engage in self-care and increase your spirituality and get closer to God during this time. And finally, I think it's important we bring on experts to discuss the information you need to know in a way that only they can. So tonight, inshallah, we're going to have 3 special guests to talk about what is happening on the ground in their communities. And then we're going to hear from Danette, who will be giving us a discussion of an expert issue that I think will be very relevant to all Americans, but in particular, individuals, families, and businesses who've been impacted by this crisis. So Danette, why don't you introduce our 3 speakers, and then we will start with the first segment of interview with them, inshallah.
Thank you, Edward. I just want to say also, there's other ways that we can stay connected, even though we're socially isolated. Quite literally. So subscribe to our email list, please. Subscribe to this channel. And again, we're going to be having an information platform that is going to be available. You're going to be able to access it from CAIR's website. Some of the people that you see on here tonight, inshallah, will be contributing to it. So there's lots of ways to stay connected to the people that you really you miss right now, and they'll still be coming to you. So first we have Brother Hussam Ailoush. He's the executive director of CAIR in California, mashallah, of the LA office, EO, excuse me, of CAIR California, a longtime director of the Los Angeles office. We also have Brother Ahmed Mohammed. He's CAIR's litigation director in New York City. Big job. And then finally, we have Sister Sabika Makhdoom, who is a board member for our Washington State chapter. It's been a really heavy hit area. And she works really hard. She's a very active community leader, and she grew up in the Washington area. It's Greater Seattle.
Great. And I mean, these communities, this is not theoretical for them. I mean, they are truly in the midst of the crisis happening. Washington has been incredibly hard hit. California, and obviously, I mean, New York, it goes without saying, seems to be the worst place that's been struck by the epidemic. So Brother Hussam, Brother Ahmed, we pray for your safety. May Allah protect both of you and your families and your community and grant you relief from this. We all know in times of difficulty, we can say, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi rajiun. To Allah we belong, and to Allah we return. Oh Allah, reward me for my difficulty, replace with something better. So may Allah do that for all of you. But Brother Hussam, we want to start with you in Los Angeles, and tell us first, how are you doing? How is your community doing? Before we get into all the negative news of what's happening, just how are you guys doing? How are you handling this out in California?
Sure. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, everyone. Thank you for hosting us. Always a pleasure seeing my dear brothers and sisters and hearing from you. And I pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is inshallah giving us all patience, wisdom as to deal with this challenge. And always remember, alhamdulillah, we will prevail inshallah. These are difficult times. But alhamdulillah, when we come together with faith in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, inshallah, we will prevail. The community here is doing okay, as you could imagine. Everybody's nervous, anxious about their safety, the safety of their loved ones. But I think we're in a better position than many other communities. Alhamdulillah, we haven't had a shortage of food. We haven't had a shortage of our ability to connect with each other. I mean, I grew up as a kid in Lebanon during the civil war, and staying at home did not mean having access to the internet, did not mean having access to knowing how my loved ones were doing, because there were no phones, no WhatsApp, no ability to, sometimes weeks would pass by without knowing if my grandmother was safe or my aunt was safe or my cousins were safe. Alhamdulillah, now I can talk to my mom and my dad every day. I can check on my kids. I can watch my grandson, 1-year-old grandson, every morning, every day, seeing him grow, feeling the distance. But alhamdulillah, we are blessed in so many ways that there's not enough ways to thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for that. And for the little challenge we deal with, and of course, this is a serious threat, not to belittle the threat. Alhamdulillah, for that, we can come together as a community, and inshallah, we will be handling it.
Alhamdulillah.
Danette, please.
I like your Facebook post. I kind of follow you there, Brother Hussam. I don't know if you know that, but I remember one day you going to buy avocados, and you said, I got one bag. And, what's it been like? I know the stores here have been really, really crazy. Panic has set in, and a lot of things are wiped off the shelves. I'm in Maryland right now. So, how is the Muslim community dealing with that? I mean, how are we counseling, people in our community? Like you said, it's not maybe the worst thing we've ever been through, but it's difficult. How do we talk about it to our kids, and how do we make sure that even in these difficult times, we're practicing moderation?
Absolutely. I mean, California maybe is a unique state in a sense. We have a lot of the groceries available. A lot of the produce of the country comes from California. So there hasn't been a shortage. I mean, I haven't gone every day, but every 3 days, myself or my wife have been going to the stores, and alhamdulillah, everything is available. Anything that is not available has not been the main necessities. I mean, obviously, what is not available is hand sanitizers, wipes, toilet paper for a reason. All of that is not available. But alhamdulillah, now more and more are coming on the shelves. But other than that, I would say CAIR came immediately to with the community. We're part of this community where we live in the same places, we go to the same masajid, same mosque, our kids go to the same schools. So our heart, our feeling, we're sensing the exact same challenges. Alhamdulillah, we have a good way to organize the community. We have an Islamic Shura Council in Southern California that brings together all the Islamic organizations, the mosques. CAIR is a member of that council that has helped provide guidance, especially in the early days when there were debates going on whether to shut down the masajid, suspend the jama'ah prayers at the mosque or not. Under the leadership of the Shura Council and many, many great scholars in our community, such as Sheikh Dr. Muzammil Siddiqui and others, the guidance was given very clearly. We should follow what makes sense, what brings safety to people. Alhamdulillah, saving lives, protecting lives is always put ahead of anything else we do in Islam. And there's always that balance that we can find. Alhamdulillah, that helped the community come to terms with it. And it's providing us an opportunity to spend time with our loved ones at home, do the prayers together. From a CAIR perspective, what we did, we knew there was an overflow of information coming to the community. Everybody's getting 1.5 million probably messages on WhatsApp. All of us are now experts on every disease or infectious disease in the world based on that crash course. And I say that sarcastically. I hope nobody thinks they are, if they're not. But in order to sort through the information or misinformation that goes there, CAIR staff has spent a lot of time going through what is out there. We're not the expert, but we can be the source by which we share what experts are saying in terms of the new laws, government requirements, in terms of what is the state, what the federal government is asking, what is the local government asking from us to do. When do we shut down? When do we don't shut down? So we've been doing this. We're also, our legal department, our staff has been working from home. All the CAIR offices in California immediately shifted to work from home, like the rest of the CAIR offices, you know, in Sacramento, in San Francisco Bay Area, San Diego, and LA. But our staff are fully functional, meaning we're still dealing with a lot of cases. We have dozens and dozens of Americans stranded, including American Muslims who are stranded outside of the country, and they were having a hard time coming back. CAIR LA, along with CAIR Washington State, along with CAIR Georgia, and a couple of others, have been working together on ensuring some of these stranded Americans come back safely to their homes. We're trying to also engage the community in terms of advocacy. We're trying to push the local, state, and federal government to make sure that they give support to those who are losing their jobs, to make sure that the services being provided.
Really, for people inside of our community, also because, not everybody has their job. And also, I'm finding that it's a time where, some other people, those in our coalition partnerships and people in other communities are being targeted right now. I want to ask Ahmed Mohammed. He's in New York City, and we've been hearing stories of targeting. And Brother Hossam, maybe you have been hearing about this too, of targeting Asian Americans, and racial profiling, and this guilt. What's been going on there? Are you with us, Ahmed?
Yeah, I am. Assalamu alaikum, everyone.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Good to see you, buddy.
Likewise. Thank you so much for having me and for hosting this panel. It's good to get a daily dose of the CAIR family around the country, all the way from California to New York. It really, I think, shows how big our network is, and the impact that we're having in our communities. Unfortunately, one of the things that we have been seeing is a rise in anti-Asian hate crimes and bias incidents in New York City, New York State, and we also see it in our neighboring states and around the country. In fact, just this morning, we condemned 2 hate crimes here in New York City. Something that we said, and really it was a message to our political leaders, especially, our, American president in Washington, D.C., is that words really matter, right? Words matter, and there are individuals who are unstable. There are individuals who have a lot of hatred in their hearts, that when they hear the president of the United States use that bully pulpit that he has in front of him, right, the White House, to denigrate and to single out the Asian American community, and put blame on them for something that has absolutely nothing to do with them whatsoever, it puts them at harm's risk, right? As an American Muslim community, we know how that feels, right? We are regularly targeted by Islamophobes in the anti-Muslim industry. So it's our job, it's our obligation as humans, as Muslims, as New Yorkers, to stand in solidarity with our Asian American neighbors, and to stand up for them and with them at all times. And that's what we're doing. That's what the community here is doing. And I know all the way from California, I guess the other day, I think CAIR California issued a similar condemnation of an anti-Asian incident as well. So, you know, CAIR is always on the front lines for our own community and for other communities as well.
MashaAllah, Brother Ahmed. And I know you work hard. I don't think that you're ever not working. So I'm sure it means a lot to people in the Asian American community that, you know, we're standing up for them too at a difficult time. I want to give some time to Sister Sabika. I know she's there somewhere from Washington State. Is she still with us? We might not have had her. We really wanted her to join us. She was going to talk about, you know, having grown up in the Seattle area.
I think we're having some technical difficulty, but I think inshallah she will be joining us.
Okay,
we had to have some technical difficulty, right? Just so that people know this is really an online thing. You can't get everything.
I think people are getting used to it. You know, even on the big networks now, it's like we're all getting used to the new normal of, you know, doing things from home. And so, you know, we're working out the glitches.
So while we wait, you know, one question I wanted to ask, you know, Ahmed, New York City obviously seems to be just the center of the worst that's hitting the country to the extent that we even know what the condition is because of the lack of testing. But how is the Muslim community in particular responding? I assume the masajid have closed. You know, what kind of charitable activities are happening? You know, are Muslim doctors on the front lines up there? You know, how's the Muslim community affected and responding to this?
Brother, let me tell you, let me throw out some statistics for you first so that everybody knows, right? In New York City, 9% of the doctors in New York City are Muslim, right? 12% of all pharmacists in New York City, Muslim.
Wow.
The overwhelming majority of taxi drivers, rideshare drivers, delivery individuals are Muslim, right? These are the frontline individuals fighting this epidemic. And, you know, here at CAIR New York, right off the bat, we recognized what Brother Hassan stated earlier is that information was coming from everywhere for everybody. The mayor was having a press conference at 10 a.m., the governor at noon, the president at 2. And a lot of times they have conflicting information. So what we did was we created a COVID-19 community resource page on our website. We took all the information out there in the universe about education, social security, social services, public health issues, and put it all into one place, make it really easy for our community to access.
Your website, Ahmed?
It's CAIR-ny.org.
Okay.
It's CAIR New York. But early on, you know, as soon as the public health experts told us this is the best way to battle and to combat this invisible, you know, opponent, right? COVID-19, our masajid stepped forward. The Majlis Ashura here got together, created a COVID-19 task force, and immediately we started doing social distancing. A lot of the masajids here responded without delay in shutting down to make sure that they are stopping the spread as soon as possible. And of course, when we actually went on a lockdown here, right, we have a stay-at-home order, you know, our Muslim community, especially our youth organizations, right, started creating relief efforts. Right now, we have a number of youth organizations, Muslim youth organizations around the city that are delivering food to households that aren't able to go out and get it on their own, right? They have started mutual aid, you know, WhatsApp groups and groups on Facebook so that they can help the elderly, help the individuals that need it. So I think, you know, overall, we've all responded really well. Of course, here, our Islamic Center at NYU has partnered with Pini Appeal, another amazing Muslim organization, and they've helped raise over $300,000 so far and helped more than 300 households with grant funding.
MashaAllah.
That's awesome. Alhamdulillah. May Allah reward all of you. Brother Hussam, we were almost out of time. I feel, oh man, I feel like now I feel like I'm Chris Cuomo. So we're almost out of time. But one last question to you, inshallah. You know, California obviously has, and I'm from California originally, has a large Asian American population. Danette was just talking to Ahmed about the hate crimes against the Asian American community. You know, has that been happening in California? You know, what are you all, if anything, doing about that to make sure that our neighbors who are Asian American, especially Chinese American, know that we stand in solidarity with them? You know, what's the state of things out there?
Yes, indeed. California is a very diverse state, and it includes a large population of Asian Americans, and we're very proud of having them. And I have to say, we can say they and us because many Asian Americans happen to be from the American Muslim community, the same way African Americans, the same way many other communities are. So we're all in it together, even despite those classifications. We're all in it together. The American Muslim community is too familiar with scapegoating, with the unfair scapegoating that happens after any negative thing that happens outside. So we certainly unequivocally stand by our brothers and sisters in the Asian American community who have been targeted unfairly. I have to say, we are fortunate in California that we have a large Asian American community, so it cannot be singled out in such a way, but also they're not alone. It's such a diverse state where we stand together. Asian Americans constitute among the leadership of our state, at every level. But nevertheless, we've heard some cases. I want to add one in 30 seconds maybe to something Ahmed said, unrelated to this, but something to uplift the community. Actually, one of the largest manufacturers of T-shirts in the country actually is based in the LA area, and they were about to shut down, and they have 500 plus employees, and they were going to lay them off. And then what they decided to do, they converted their whole facilities. They have 3 facilities in the area into designing or creating actually masks from cloth, from cotton. They're making them. So they're making them and they're donating all of them to hospitals.
Let's give them a shout out. Who is this?
This is AST Sportswear. So they're good friends of ours. AST Sportswear. AST Sportswear. They make the Bayside T-shirts. So they converted their material. They were about to shut down. They contacted us and said, because it's not an essential business. So we worked with the city, we worked with the county, and we're able to keep their factories open. And now we're partnering with them as CAIR to make sure that we have asking the community to contribute so we can make some of these masks and deliver them. They're not medical grade masks, but they will be delivered to people working with the community, people who are providing essential services, senior home workers, homeless shelters workers, grocery workers. So we're taking them as a gift from the American Muslim community to these heroes who are serving us. The medical grade masks should be, and they're going to the medical staff, but at least we can provide this to those who are still providing essential services. So there are a lot of positive stories, like Ahmed said, all over the country, and we should celebrate how many people from all communities are coming together, showing our humanity.
That's a great story. MashaAllah.
There's so much more of that than there is of the bigotry and the hatred, despite the best efforts of certain people who will go unnamed to foment hatred instead of solidarity. So I'm glad to hear that that is happening in California, and inshallah, may Allah keep it going and grant us relief from this. Brother Hussein, Brother Ahmed, thank you so much for joining us. Inshallah, we hope to have you back in more pleasant circumstances with even better news to share, inshallah. And I also want to say thank you to Sister Sabika from CAIR Washington, who was going to join us. But again, we had some technical difficulties, so we hope we'll be able to bring her on another time to discuss the situation in the state of Washington. And anyone from the state of Washington, we hope you all are staying safe, and we hope that you are making it through this, inshallah, as best you can. Shout out to Brother Masi and his entire team. Keep doing the great work that you're doing out in Washington, and we hope to connect with you very soon, inshallah. Sam, Ahmed, thank you both so much. Assalamu alaikum.
Alaikum salam. Thank you for having
me.
So as our final segment, we want to have a bit of a discussion with an expert about an issue that we think would be relevant to many members of the community, and in particular the Muslim community. And that expert is our co-host, Danette.
Hi, this is easy.
Yes, exactly. So Danette has written a great article that we will be publishing, inshallah, hopefully tomorrow, on CAIR's COVID-19 Community Updates platform. This will be a community platform where we are highlighting the great work that people in the community are doing in response to COVID-19. Again, sharing information about how this virus is changing and how it's impacting communities and what you need to know health-wise, government-wise, and also, again, sharing some advice and information from experts like Danette. So she wrote the very first article for one of the sections from the experts, and this article is titled, How Does COVID-19 impact broken contracts, what to do about contracts that have been signed, written, and then broken as a result of this pandemic. So that could be everything from families who booked a suite of hotel rooms for family reunion, to an organization, maybe a nonprofit organization that had already made arrangements for a conference. Could be individuals who bought plane tickets. I mean, there are all sorts of contracts of various sorts that are being broken right now because of this crisis. Are you free from your obligations? Is this an act of God, as we as lawyers might say, that frees you from your obligations? Danette wrote a great article about this issue. And so, Danette, I just want you to maybe briefly tell us, why did you decide to write this article? You know, you could have written about many things. What struck you about this topic that made you want to cover it for the community?
Thanks, Edward. I'm going to write about more things, but I really felt like this was really relevant. A lot of my friends were talking about, wanting to get those deposits back. Some people had lost their jobs at the same time they're being held to certain financial obligations. They're just not getting the benefit of their bargain. And they're like, why can't I get out of this? And so this is a good time for community members to understand a legal principle known as force majeure, which if you're interested in, it's French for superior force. Now, I'm not going to give you any legal advice personally. Anybody who's watching this show, you need to reach out to a licensed attorney in your area if you want advice specific to your situation. But we're going to talk about the law, force majeure, what it is, and how people use it when they're in situations like this. So when a dispute arises over whether a party to an agreement still has to go through with the agreement or payment, what have you, despite a change in the circumstance. So force majeure allows the people who need to get out of the commitment to basically say, hey, look, something so extraordinary has happened here that none of us could have foreseen, right? We wouldn't have known. And, I can't, go forward with this commitment because it's so extraordinary, and, I need to get out of it.
Yeah. So, Danette, let me ask you this about COVID-19 in particular. It is sent a wrecking ball into people's spring plans, their summer plans. Some of those plans, people have made deposits already, payments, contracts. I know you can't give legal advice, and Ivik and I we're both lawyers here, so we both have to be careful. But generally speaking, what can people in the community do if they are facing financial losses due to cancellations? On either side, it could be the business, it could be the hotel. I mean, Muslims are in all walks of life on all sides of this thing, and so are other people. So, what can they do right now if they're facing the risk of financial loss as a result of this issue?
Great. So again, force majeure, understanding what it is, how it works. Force majeure, let me say, it is typically hard to accomplish, but it's still possible. What you want to do, what I would do is look at the language of my contract. I would look for force majeure.
And that specific phrase.
Force majeure. Yeah, if you read the article later, you can see how it's spelled because it's a French word. So, and force majeure clauses will list specific events. So you said earlier, acts of God, right? So, if you look in your contract or your agreement, your policy, and it says pandemic, yay, great, hooray. But that's not the end of the story. I said earlier, it's a high bar to pass, and it really is. Something else has to be happening at the same time. So number one, the event has to be extraordinary. Number two, it has to be unforeseeable. Okay, so like who could have guessed that we would be in a global pandemic, right? But here's the clincher. There is nothing that the parties to the agreement could have done, even under the changed circumstances, to make the deal go through.
So in other words, even if it truly is a legally defined act of God, even if it was unexpected, you can't just walk away and throw up your hands. If there's something you could do to maintain the contract, you have to do that, which is not only an American concept, but I dare say an Islamic concept as well, that when we make agreements, we try to stick to them as best we can. If we can't, then we can't, but you try to make every effort to do that. So
right, so you have to mitigate it if you can. Okay. But let's put it in this context. So a global pandemic, Edward, what do you think? Pretty high on the scale of seriousness?
I would dare say the president might think otherwise, but it seems to me it's pretty serious, yes.
We're airing this from our homes, so pretty serious, right? So I think we're all feeling that right now. And especially, again, for those who are on the front lines, for those who are working really extra hard in the emergency room, food banks, grocery stores, and whatnot, everything has come to a standstill except for those on the front lines. And not just because, we have to flatten the curve. The government itself is also recognizing that we have to institute this policy known as social isolation. So we don't really have a choice in the matter, right? We're locked down. Some of us are even in states where it's illegal for you to leave your home unless you're going out for an essential reason or to catch some fresh air. Right. So if you're living in a state like California or New York and you have to perform an obligation, hey, you can't even leave your house. You can't even be within 6 feet from somebody outside of your household. So if you had to break, if had to break plans in a couple of weeks to go, say, I was planning on going to Cancun, right? And I already put my deposits down and whatnot. And it's going to be literally impossible for me in that situation to keep, to make my payment, to go on my trip. People are under quarantine, travel is restricted. And, countries are even, we're barring each other from traveling to each other's countries. And so the World Health Organization,
you can't, right? It's,
the World Health Organization even designated this a global pandemic. So it does stand to reason that this is an extraordinary circumstance that, legal experts are saying it's likely that courts are going to designate this as really ripe for force majeure, right? If this doesn't meet force majeure, what does?
What does, yeah. So thank you, Danette, for that. So I have more questions I could ask, but it's 8:38. We want to make sure we keep within the time frame.
One more thing, Edward, I gotta say, because some people are going to say, well, I know I was in a situation, you call the first time and, force majeure doesn't apply, because if force majeure is not in the contract, it can still be enforced, but it is very rare. But again, after the World Health Organization designated a global pandemic and after the government started the lockdowns, at that point, then it kicks in. So even for people who couldn't get, out of those obligations because they called a little too early, now is a good time to follow up and see about.
You've got actual government restrictions that are, okay, gotcha, makes sense. All right, so everyone, we hope that information is helpful. We hope, inshallah, that all businesses and individuals are able to keep to their agreements and contracts. But as Danette said, extraordinary times. If you are in this sort of situation, we hope that both sides can work it out in a reasonable and amicable way that doesn't cause further financial damage beyond what people are already experiencing. May Allah grant us relief from this difficulty. So with that, it's 8:39. We're going to wrap up. I want to thank everyone who watched this very first episode of COVID Conversations with CAIR, a daily dose. And I want to thank everyone who helped to set this up. Abbas Barzagar, who is the Research and Advocacy Director for CAIR National, is our producer. He's making sure everything is running, and he had the idea for this subject and program. So thank you, Abbas, for getting us through this. And thank you to Megan, Asma, Brother Nihad.
Asma Rahman, our chapter manager.
Omar Al-Saray. I feel like I'm at the Oscars, but I just want to say thank you to everyone who played a role in getting us this first program successfully. May Allah reward you, Jazakallah Karen. If we said anything good tonight, it was by the will of Allah. Anything bad is from us. May Allah forgive us. We will be back again Friday at 8 o'clock, inshallah. We're going to mix it up. You'll have different hosts doing the show, different guests, different topics. If you have a topic you want us to cover, please email us. You can either email CAIR directly. You can email me, Danette. You can post in the Facebook Live comments. Let us know if there's a topic you want us to address so we can consider bringing that on. You can also ask questions during the program. If you want to ask a question that we might be able to address, just post the comment on the Facebook Live video and we'll try to address the question, inshallah. So Danette, I'll let you close us out. Yes, if we can, inshallah. No problem.
So I think
we don't want to get locked into contracts here. If we can, inshallah.
If we can have a theme for everything that we're going through right now, and especially for everything that's been talked about tonight, down to the legal concepts, right? The legal principle of force majeure, it's that, we plan, but Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is the best of planners. And if we remember that, we gain something, learn something through these difficult experiences, inshallah, we'll all come out winners. Let's keep supporting our community, taking this as an opportunity to get closer to our families, really looking around and getting out of our social isolation through opportunities like this to come together, see one another, and celebrate what we have.
Absolutely. I mean, excellent note to end on. Thank you, everyone. Please check CAIR National's Facebook page tomorrow, Friday night at 8 o'clock, inshallah, for the next episode. Until then, assalamu alaikum, subhanakallahumma wa bihamdika, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, wa astaghfirullah wa atubu ilayh. Assalamu alaikum. Stay safe.
Assalamu alaikum.